Howdy, my name is Callum, also known as Northern Dice, and it's been a while, but we're going to do a playthrough, and today's playthrough is Horizon Zero Dawn, the board game. This was sent to us by Steamforged Games for our opinions and just so we can play it more than anything, and I'm incredibly appreciative, but we aren't being paid for any media we're producing. I am simply doing this because you know I love a good minis game. I haven't done a playthrough in a while, and this is the first Sunday I've had a couple of hours spare, so I figured why not? So, if you're unfamiliar with Horizon Zero Dawn, it's the PlayStation franchise video game where post-apocalyptic setting, robots, no animals, just people, etc, etc. This does not necessarily follow the story of that. It follows elements of and little bits of lore, and you're effectively a hunter ready to take on the proving ground. So I have set this game up ready, and we have got it for each individual hunt. You would normally take on 5. I think I'm just going to stick to the 1 today, but just so you can see the setup, when I completed this one, I'd do 2, 3, 4, and then I'd take on the Hunter's Call, which is where I would try and hunt down a Sawtooth. We are nowhere near ready for that. If you have a look at camera number 2, it's been a while since we've used 2 cameras as well, I have got my Karja Warrior set up ready for battle. She has got all of her standard starting stuff. She has got her skill tree, which you would level up on every time you do a hunt of a greater level than you currently are. So we're doing a level 1 hunt. We're currently at level 0, so this level 1 will be our next step. We've got our deck of cards, which actually acts as our health as well. If we're ever in a position where we cannot draw cards, we faint, so we need to make sure we're keeping on top of that. And I've got the board set up with the enemies that we're taking on. This hunt requires us to take on a Scrapper and a Watcher. Now, we don't necessarily need to kill every enemy. We need to try and achieve the number of encounter points needed for the number of players. So we're playing 1 to 2, so we need 2. The Watcher is worth 1 encounter point, which is on this card here. And the Scrapper is worth 2 encounter points, which is down here. Now, we could choose to just take on the Scrapper, but enemies react in different ways and do different things. So we are going to take a whack at this and see what we do. Chances are I am going to make mistakes in this, which I am absolutely fine with. I am still learning this game. I only started playing it yesterday. I had a good long run through it, but routines and processes and my overexcitement will get carried away with me. So please, if at any point you notice I've done something wrong, or if there's a way that you would approach something differently to how I've approached things, put a comment down below. I always like to see what other people would have done. I also like it when people point out what I've missed, because my goodness, will I not learn if I am not told what I've missed. So, on our turn, we are able to do 2 actions. We can sneak, which would be 1 movement without alerting enemies. We could sprint, which would be 2 movement, and if we go into the square around any enemy, we work on adjacency with diagonals. That enemy would become alert. If they aren't alert at the end of their turn, they will just follow these lovely purple paths, which is their patrol. We don't want them to get to the end of their patrol, because otherwise they're going to do a runner. At the same time, we don't want to be taking on enemies unprepared. So let's draw our first hand of cards, which is going to be 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see what we have got. So we have got some freeze bombs, freeze bombs, freeze bombs, and a follow-up. Cards come in 2 flavours. You've got ammo, you've got ammunition, you've got skills, and you've got reactions. So we have got 4 ammo and 1 reaction, which is going to be played straight after we inflict a condition on an enemy. We would move straight into that spot, but at the same time, we don't necessarily want the Watcher to become active, because these enemies, I'm not sure if you can see it on the big camera, so I'll move it over here, have methods and actions that they take if they're alert. So if there's a non-alert enemy within 2 squares, he will run up to them and he will alert them of what is happening. So he's going to go tell on us to the Scrapper, and we don't want to be taking on 2 enemies at once. The Scrapper, on the other hand, if I can pick up this card, there we go. When he's alert, we'll just focus on inflicting damage, and if we're within 1, he'll move towards us, he'll do damage, and then move away. Whereas if he's not in range, he will either strike us with his gun on top of him, if we're within 2, or he will move 2 towards us. The other thing about being alert and not alert is that enemies who aren't alert take full damage for what we do. Enemies who are alert, we have to consider their armor values, which are on these cards here. We have their overall health, their armor, how much scrap we'll pick up when defeating them, how much glory we'll earn, and how many encounter points they're worth. The Scrapper, unlike the Watcher, also has two components which we can destroy. If we over damage, we'll do damage to him as well, but mainly doing damage to these will get us extra glory and also prevents him from doing certain things. An example, if we destroy the power cell, he can't use his ranged attack anymore and will have to come and fight us himself. Our Hunter is fully set up. We are more centred on melee. Our Sling is lovely, but more around doing effects to enemies. And I'll talk about those as we go, because this is not how to play it, this is just my experience whilst playing. So, let's get cracking. Our Karja warrior is hiding in the grass currently. I have got some freeze bombs. I am thinking it could be very wise to... We're going to distract, which would mean that we would move an enemy one space in the direction of our choosing. It wouldn't alert them, so we're going to choose this Watcher and we're going to distract him into here. Now, because we're in grass, he can't see us, so he won't become alert. But then we're going to nail him with some freeze bombs. And the way that attacking works is that you would roll dice based on the values of your weapon and your ammunition. So in this instance, we would get a yellow and a black die. Orange and black. If we manage to roll the black and get a critical, or an orange and get the critical, we can choose either effect, with the effect for the sling being an extra damage and the effect for the sling bonds being one frozen effect on the enemy. So let's just pop those there so you can see that I'm being true to form. Roll these bad boys and we get... Oh-ho! So we get to do 1 damage and we get to inflict a status, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So we'll put 1 damage on this Watcher. We'll make sure that he is alert by putting the alert token here. And then we're going to freeze him up. And what freezing does is it means that that enemy... Oh, that's not freeze. Where is it? Freezing makes it so that the enemy on the next attack has full damage given to them despite armor values. He's got 1 armor and it is now in play. So what we're going to do is we are going to choose to, since we've used our 2 actions, I'm going to use a reaction, which is our follow-up. Play after a hunter inflicts a condition with an attack. Move into the same square as the target and perform a melee strike. If this kills the target, gain an additional glory. Sweet. So our hunter is going to move 1 into there, and we are going to make a melee, which is a blue and an orange for us. Our character is much more oriented around hitting hard with a big stick. And if we can do 3, we will kill this Watcher. Oh, just 2. Not bad. So we'll put that extra 2 damage there. And now our turn is fully finished. We don't draw back up until we have actually, well, had the start of our next turn. So now it's all enemies, and we start with, unfortunately for us, enemies that are alert. And the Watcher will move 1 towards the closest enemy. He moves 1. And to my knowledge, that would then alert the Scrapper. Luckily for us, enemies alerted in this way do not activate. He's just going to sit there, he's going to turn around, and he's going to be very much growling at us, knowing full well that he is going to absolutely decimate us when he gets the chance. Okie dokie. We've got our 3, we're going to draw another 2. If our deck depletes, that is effectively our stamina going, and we have 0 health, so we would faint. The game would also be over as well, because you get as many feints as there are hunters. At this point, once all players had their turns, enemies activating between turns, you would check if you'd completed and if you wanted to continue. We have not completed, but if we had defeated that Scrapper, we could say we're just going to leave the Watcher and run. We ain't able to do that because we have no encounter points yet. So let's have a look at what we can do. We can go for a Silent Strike, which I'm contemplating saving for this Scrapper. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another Freeze Bomb against this Watcher again. So once again, we would use our orange and our black. Since he's just gone and told on us, we're going to absolutely nail him with nothing. We miss. We have missed beyond missing. Oh my days. What a shoddy shot. And you can only do 1 of each type of strike every single turn. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to choose to just hit him with the Karja Halberd, which is a yellow and a blue. And when you make a strike with a melee weapon, you are able to move into the enemy square as well. It's like a running hit. So we're going to move into there. Oh, orange and blue. We need at least 2. That's more like it. So that orange and blue would enable us to, talking in rhymes there, put the extra damage there, depleting his health to 0, taking him out. So we're going to put him on there to track how many we've defeated. We've defeated 1, so we have got 1 encounter point. I should have taken that off as well when we'd stricken him with our follow-up strike. Conditions are gone once they have been in play and used. The same for when they're used against hunters. If you've had it against you, then it disappears once it's taken effect. It's a one and done sort of thing, which is good for the enemies with freeze, but also good for us knowing that we've got a bit of respite. So we defeated him. So we will then check his card to establish what we earn, and we get 1 scrap card. So let's have a look for those. They are here. We get a blaze, which is a fantastic resource. These resources can be used in conjunction with these. In example, the freeze bombs. If you discard a cool water, you can inflict a frozen status without the critical strike. But in the same way, these can also be used in the market phase, which comes way after the hunt, and you can choose to exchange them for extra valuables. We also get a single glory, which would look like this. Now this determines who is the overall winner of the campaign, because each round it is a semi-cooperative game, but for us as a Karja, our abilities as we grow and develop our skills, we can exchange those for rerolls and other things, so more valuable to us than others, but it determines who will be first player next turn based on who has been the most successful hunter. The game does also include a catch-up mechanic with the fledgling token and the main hunter token, but I haven't gotten into that too much. I am yet to play with another player. We are running solo so far. What I'm actually going to do, though, is after resolving an attack, this hunter may perform a sprint action. I'm going to do that. And I am going to run away. 1, 2. Which seems a bit cowardice, but the scrapper is unbelievably scary. We have done that. We check what the scrapper is going to do in his action, and we are going to look, and we are not within 1 square. So we've got conditional effects. He will either strike us within 2. We are not within 2. He's going to move 2 towards the closest hunter, which is exactly what he's going to choose to do. And he's going to go 1, 2, and stand there staring at us menacingly. We check if we finish the campaign. We've only got 1 encounter point. I'd want to continue anyway, because this is a lot of fun. And we have managed to get some real nice stuff. So we, as the Karja, are able to make good use of status effects as well. So this Blazing Strike, if the target is suffering a condition at the start of this attack, inflict an additional 2 damage, which is an insane amount of helpfulness, particularly when we're looking at freeze bombs giving effects, and the Silent Strike being able to follow it up with an extra 4 damage. If we play this perfectly, we may be able to take him out in 1 fell swoop. However, yes, I'm actually going to target the radar. So, when we do that, we look for an appropriate token to mark against. So we're looking for this radar, and as it stands, we are wanting to disable it. So we are going to try and strike that, and it needs 2 to destroy. So I'm going to play a freeze bomb, which is going to be a black and an orange. Roll them up. Oh, 2 criticals. So we get to effectively choose which ones we want, and we could do 2 single damages. No point, he's got 1 armour. Could affect 2 freezers. Can't. It is the best roll you can get, and also the worst timing for it. But it's not the end of the world. We have done no damage to his radar. Nothing bad has happened to him, but he has been frozen, which means that his armour is currently null and void. So now we're going to use Blazing Strike to do an additional 2 damage alongside our Silent Strike. This ammunition can only be used if the hunter is in tall grass. We are. So we're going to move out that tall grass, sneak up on him, big hit in his face, take his absolute jaw off, and roll 2 blue and an orange with an extra 2 damage. And he's got no armour against it because of the freeze. This could end very quickly. And it does not. We have got this, which allows us to get an extra 4 damage. So we had the critical, so that's 4. Then we had the 5-6. We've done it. And then we get the 7-8 from this. So that, ladies and gentlemen, would be the 8 damage required to destroy this enemy. We have absolutely come in, swoops around, and taken them all out. So let's put this on here. We then check to see if we have managed to complete the encounter with enough encounter points. There's no enemies left and they haven't run away, so the answer would be yes. Now, as much as then I'd be able to move on, I can't because of the table space. I'm currently moving house, boxes are everywhere, yada yada yada. Anyway, the other thing I'm considering is the fact that I played that incredibly quickly. You don't want to do that in this game. My experience tells me that you want to be trying to take out as many of these power cells, radars as possible. Some of these, for some enemies, give you extra components and stuff. It's alright us taking out this guy and getting an extra 2 and getting some metal scraps and some sparkers. It's also alright us getting an extra 2 glory. Oh, that's a 5. Let's flip that back over. In a competitive setting, you'd want to be trying to take out those components for extra glory to try and be the top player. The catch-up mechanic is I can't remember what the deck name is, but it gives an effect to a certain player who's in last place, who's in the weakest spot, to make sure that they are fully aware of what is happening. To resolve this one, we'd then look at who is the most victorious player, and they would get a full sun token. We'd then be able to level up onto one of these, and our actual skill tree changes what we can do. So you start with 14 cards in hands, you can move to 16 to 18 to 20. We could go to here and add 2 elusive, which would be the 2 extra cards we need, or we can get the trade prideful, which would change our current trait. We didn't need to use it this time, because we didn't actually get struck once, but the nimble allows us to make a roll for evade. The prideful will give us an extra trait on top of that. I believe it's the one where you can discard these tokens to get rerolls. And if you are ever understocked for cards, you can take these stamina cards to fill it up, so that you aren't effectively lower health than anybody else. You would also draw cards from the market deck, have them available, and you would be able to purchase them for the costs in the top right hand corner. They are very specific to certain characters. The Karja Hunter bow, as much as it's for the Karja, wouldn't be very handy for my character because all of my ammo is oriented around slingers, which are slings. So only slings can be used with this one. I couldn't put an bow and arrow in that. You can get modifiers for each weapon, you can get different attack types, you can even get different effects from your personal deck of upgrades as they come along. But the game runs very much like that, with an increasing amount of difficulty for each encounter. So the next player would choose the top 3 and pick one, the rest will go to the bottom, then they choose the next 3, then they choose the next 3, and you could effectively take on more reds than anything else. 2 reds, 2 oranges, and 1 yellow. But it completely depends on how you choose to play it. But the final one for this specific hunt, since we're taking on the Sawtooth, would always have us, with this setup, taking on Striders and a Sawtooth with this layout. You also need 5 glory to complete it. The actual Sawtooth itself is worth, if I give you a sneaky peek at the card, coincidentally, the 5 encounter points you need. So it's more about taking him down than it is anything else. But that was a very brief, rush, quick experience and playthrough of a single hunt of Horizon Zero Dawn, the board game. I'll probably get a longer hunt out next time. I have also got the Thunderjaw expansion with a miniature that is not really a miniature. I've decided it's a large, but that's for another time. As always, thank you ever so much for sticking around to watch this playthrough. I will catch you next time.